Okay, we're recording now. John.
Do we get a chance for a retake?
Yeah, we can always change our answers. Nothing's written in stone.
Okay.
It's all digital. We can erase it if we want.
Yeah, okay. I know that when you make a movie or a commercial, there's always retakes because some flub line or
well,
whatever.
I wasn't planning on putting a penis on your forehead or anything.
Well, I might flub a line. I mean, my memory skills aren't very good.
So you're ready?
Probably as ready as I'll ever be.
What is most important?
Well, this moment. Living in the now. Oh, that was a good choice of IPA.
Okay, how about something more...
I choose my beer carefully so that...
Something more universal. Something I can sink my teeth into. Not that I have any.
But at Death Cafe last night, that was identified as...
What was identified?
The moment. Remember? The conversation came to what's most important is the moment you're in and experiencing that fully. And I completely agree because you've heard of... Oh, what's the name of his book? See, this is where I flub my line. Because I lost a memory that'll come back to me in about 20 seconds.
You don't have prepared statements, and that's kind of what this is about.
Yeah. So when I have a brain skip like that, a very important factor in my thinking is this really great book that I really got into about 3 years ago, and I recommend it to everyone, except when I can't even remember the author or the title when I feel I'm on the spot.
So the book isn't a self-help about focusing.
It's about living in the now, and that basically was the title, it seems to me. Okay, turn it off, please.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I like this. I think this is natural.
Yeah, it is. Natural spacing. Can't blame it on the alcohol. I've only had 4 sips. So now I'm obsessing about getting that memory back. So there's this philosopher slash wise man who sat on a bench in Vancouver, BC for a year. A place I love, Stanley Park, and came up with the philosophy of life and wrote a book on it and started giving talks. And he's on the internet, and I've certainly heard his internet speech a few times, and I'm just obsessed about coming up with his name. I'm very aware at age 65 of losing memory cells. I have more and more senior moments, and that's no more apparent than when I feel on the spot, like right now.
Keep in mind you're speaking to someone with actual physical brain damage.
Yeah.
So I know of what you speak.
I'm also friends with someone in another group who had a concussion, fell down a set of stairs, and had to leave Intel. He was an engineer. He just had to reconstruct his life because he couldn't remember things. Certainly not his job. You might have even met him. So, in any case.
So, do you remember what the question was?
What's the most important thing?
Okay.
Yeah. And
So if what's most important is living in the moment, that's what you said, right?
That's correct.
So what about this moment is important?
Well, what's become important to me right now is my self-awareness. I'm self-conscious right now because of the memory
camera?
skip. The memory skip and feeling on the spot,
You're feeling old.
feeling old and surveilled.
Perhaps personally invaded? Because surveilled is like your privacy is being invaded.
Well, I'm on the record, and I'm on the record as
And that bothers you?
yeah, it bothers me to not recall things so readily anymore. I used to be.
So maybe
really
what's
sharp.
most important is remembering things,
Yeah.
not just what's in the moment.
Well,
'Cause that seems to be your behavior.
That would be a mistake. If I chose that option, what's most important is remembering things, then I will be doomed. Because I know that aging is a diminishment of those abilities.
Okay, so
Particularly with my family history.
you decided what was most important based off of what was accomplishable?
What's most important is what is optimizing the moment, having the best possible present that you
And
can,
losing
can
your memory
manage.
fucks that up.
Well, yeah, it did this time. It did this time because I was trying to explain something in terms that you would understand why the now is really the most important, more important than the past or the future.
And what was it that you didn't remember? The author's name?
Didn't remember this very important person, this author's name,
People's names aren't important.
who had the
The philosophy is important.
and couldn't even remember his book. I can.
But you remembered the philosophy to be in the moment, right?
Yeah.
That's what's important there in his book, I think.
Yeah. So, the essential learning from the book is that if you dwell on the past, that is not in the moment, but the past, you are subject to depression. Unless, you're the unusual person that had no regrets, no failures.
So
If you obsess on the future and not the present, then you are anxious.
when you're
so-
trying to
so the-
remember something, aren't you literally dwelling on the past?
I suppose that's a good point. Good point. So what's important is the philosophy, not the
The person's
wise
name.
person
Yeah.
who will come to me
mean-
any second now because it's.
I could say Einstein all I
sounds.
want, but it doesn't mean shit if I don't understand what Einstein did or said.
Yeah.
So,
Right over here, and I'm going to get you some more water as well, okay?
Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to reach for the bread. Would you like to have a half or a sample?
yeah, what did I order again? The potato skins and salad, huh?
That's great.
All right. Yeah, I think I'll stay away from the bread because there could be migraine triggers in it.
Yeah, it seems heavily seasoned.
Yeah, is there any garlic in it? You could probably taste that.
Yeah.
Garlic is a trigger. Okay,
Thanks. I wonder why she didn't bring butter.
so what's most important is not remembering the guy's name, but what his words were, what his philosophy was. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I just said as much.
And what's most important was living in the moment. How are you living in the moment now?
I arranged an encounter at a restaurant that I really wanted to experience again after many, many years, and take it in, get familiar with surroundings, not be surprised when I have an encounter here next week.
Thank you.
Sure. Does butter come with this?
I can bring butter if you buy it.
Appreciate that.
Do you have silverware yet?
Right over here, Heidi. Did you want any fresh ground pepper on your
No,
salad?
thanks.
So we'll grab some butter for you.
Well,
Could have had her do the Bart Simpson thing with a little more, nope, take it back.
okay. You know, I'm lucky to be aging in the moment that I am in 2017 because I'm facilitated by my digital devices. And now I'm going to I'll have to increasingly use help. Who wrote The Power of Now? Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle wrote The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment.
The Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment. Eckhart Tolle. And you know, what's remarkable right now is as soon as I asked Google the question, who wrote The Power of Now, before I heard the answer, it came to me. Eckhart Tolle.
So maybe without your little device, you could have said, Google who wrote yada yada, and you might have remembered it.
I might have. It's amazing how the brain works or doesn't work in some cases. You don't mind acknowledging if you've heard of him?
I have not heard of him.
Oh, okay. Yet another link to send to Thomas. Charming
I'm
little
more
man.
interested in your philosophy. Now, if he said something that you agreed with or that made sense to you, I'd like to hear about it. But I don't want to just hear what he has to say because I can't converse with him. I
Okay.
can converse with you.
All right. He's important to me because he explicitly identified how to stay out of what he calls depression or anxiety. What I call anxiety is being worried about the future. I mean, I have got to plan a new life in Portland. I've got to wrap up a really messy house and all the affairs that happen there. Worrying even now about the 2 workers that are there not being served.
And how does worrying serve you?
The only way to get to tomorrow is by operating in the now. And so,
But you're focused on tomorrow, not now.
that's right, and that's the anxiety. So, during this precious opportunity, which was lunch that was arranged, and I made sure I was complete with the workers, complete with Jeannie, and could leave. I'm tried to block that out for being in the now. But I just brought that up as an illustration of what is so valuable about the now. Is you're not thinking, worrying, that is, anxious about the future. And you're also not sad, depressed, or melancholic about the past.
What I've told the women on the endometriosis site, and I have not been active on that for quite some time, they ask about, how do you prepare for going into surgery and the stress of all that? Well, I had pointed out that, regardless of whether you actually survive the surgery, if you are stressing about surviving the surgery, then you have wasted that time, that precious time you have, worrying. When you could have been thinking about other things. Either remembering good things or planning on doing good things in the future. Instead of what if I survive the surgery, it's what am I going to do after I survive the surgery? Start with the assumption that you're going to survive, that you're going to be okay. Because if you don't start with that assumption, you're going to waste a lot of energy worrying about shit, and you're just going to give yourself a fucking ulcer. So when they were wheeling me into the operating room, that's when I started to panic. I didn't panic when they assigned me the appointment. I didn't panic when I got in the robe. I didn't panic when they stuck needles and tubes in me. I probably did panic a little bit with that, just because it hurts. But the panic didn't hit until they wheeled me out of the room I was relaxing in and bringing me into the surgical room. That's when I freak out.
It's like you're about to go on the roller coaster, and when you're in the long line, it's not such a big deal. You're there with your company and other people, but you get to the gate and you hear the whoosh, and then the gate opens and you go in the car, and that's when it all comes to.
That is a fantastic analogy. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have that on camera now.
I have that experience going to the roller coaster. The terror.
Okay, so try to apply that to your anxiety.
Yeah, there's a couple of roller coasters coming up. The biggest one is...
You mean proverbial roller coaster?
Yeah. Yeah, the parallel to a roller coaster for me is having a single life again. I've had a not single life for 26 years, 27, and I've gotten comfortable, too comfortable, I think. And it's going to be weird, strange, and worrisome for a while.
So you're not entirely prepared for your future.
Are any of us?
No, but I'm saying that's what you're worried about.
When I choose to dwell on it, which I don't want to. The power of the now is special because I have this ability to monitor what space I'm in, and I realize I'm obsessing about worry, and I get out of it. I find some...
In addition to the now, I would also recommend the positive of the past. You know, those good stories?
The mason jar.
Yeah. Like my story about the orange racetrack.
Orange racetrack?
I
don't think I've heard orange racetrack.
Yeah, I did that Death Cafe, I think, last time. Not this last one yesterday, but the one before it, a month ago.
Okay. Orange doesn't...
The racetrack. When I was a little kid, I wanted that loop-de-loop, and I didn't get it for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe I'll get it next Christmas, and I didn't get it. And I was really upset about that. And I voiced my opinion that second Christmas. It's like, man, I was really hoping for it this year. And then a week or two later, someone walked up and said, here, and handed me a fucking loop-de-loop, and I went, oh my God!
Now I remember.
Okay.
I didn't remember the orange. That threw me. Yeah, I know about those cars. Until a few months ago, there was a whole collection of those.
You're missing my point.
Okay.
My point was to remember the good memories.
I would have given you the loop-de-loop because I had one.
That's not the point of the story.
Okay.
The point is to remember good things.
The delight of getting that.
Yeah, and realize that that can happen again in the future. That joy.
You'll come across someone who will hand you a loop-de-loop or something you covet, and that's that moment is.
And you don't have to wait for someone to hand it to you either.
The key is, though, you're anticipating it. You're anticipating around the corner is something delightful.
I wouldn't say anticipating. That's saying recognizing that it's possible.
Yeah.
Because when you're stressing, you're worried about the negative shit, aren't you?
That's true. So instead, I recognize that, and I try to move on and find and create something positive. Like even this next opportunity to have lunch here next Monday is important to me now. It's becoming something I anticipate. I mean, I anticipate meeting Lenore over there and having lunch and getting my questions answered. Oh.
Sitting over there. It's a little hot right
that
here
is
on
great.
this side, so be careful.
That is reminiscent of what I remembered at Huntington Beach.
Is it?
Yeah. Good. Thanks for restoring my trust in
problem.
Claim Jumper. I can come
Definitely
anytime
can't
and
have
have
any of
breakfast.
Okay, yeah. Do you want any other sauce or anything for dipping?
No, anything creamy
What
will
is that?
kill me.
What is that?
That's
you're
a
giving
sour
me?
cream chive dip.
Oh, that would be good here. Thank you. Well, what do I
So
have
that's
here?
the demi-glace. It's a brown gravy.
That's
Most
the
people just
same.
pour it over. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I'll taste it first.
and
I do like
There's
sour cream.
there's a lot of peppercorn in that sauce. If whether you like it or hate it, but just be aware it's very peppercorny.
Well, sour cream I love, so I'll be happy.
And if you need more, you let me know. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Oh wow.
So what's most important to you is living in the now, but it didn't seem...
And to support your suggestion, living in anticipation of something positive. I think you said, and it was your contribution, about the orange loop-de-loop, and I do the same thing. I create a positive expectation of some future experience. And this is a minor one, this thing about going to the Neptune thing with somebody that is new. But, I have done that in my life for years. Cultivated relationships and made positive plans. That's sort of dry.
So are you satisfied with your answer about what's most important?
Yes, and the sum my answer is to living in the now, and additionally anticipating a positive future in the now. Being in the now, not just innocently in the now, noticing leaves and butterflies.
Now,
That's
that
pretty
can help
simple.
too.
That's pretty simple. But being in the now in an abstract sense of optimism, looking forward to a positive future. Guessing that it will turn out okay. Going under the knife. Guessing that it will turn out okay. Or the drill or whatever you went through.
So what is your history with religion, and at what points did you decide it was or was not for you?
Yeah, I was told there was a God from the earliest days of language. I read the Holy Bible, King James Version, before I went to school, I think. My memory of learning to read was being self-taught from the Dick and Jane books, but not in school, but at home. And just taking off from there. I didn't wait for elementary school teachers to teach me my ABCs. So my first significant reading was, well, besides Dick and Jane, that's significant enough, was the King James Bible, because it was there on the coffee table. It was alongside this book of etiquette. I remember that quite well. And something else, about which I won't obsess on, I'm trying to remember. And this was, before I was old enough to go out of the house, before I could get a library card and find more reading, I had to read what was in the house. So I pieced through the Old Testament and the New Testament, the language is very simple. There are a lot of thous and thys, and there's a lot of simplicity in the Bible. So you can absorb it more readily than an encyclopedia, which I wasn't ready for in those days.
Okay.
And that became something I anticipated. That is, an encounter or experience of religion that I wasn't, I wasn't against. I wasn't resisting.
But you were teaching yourself how to read.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was the primary purpose, not to discover what was in the Bible.
I suppose so, but the Bible was an interesting story.
I'll have to suppose you back.
I mean, later I encountered The Wizard of Oz, which was an even more interesting story. But the first story of the Bible was sort of, it had magic in it. And, I realized even at the time I was reading it, that it was a story. I didn't give it truth. I didn't have parents or a church-going environment that tried to get me to believe in it, if you know what I mean. This is the Word of God. I didn't have that. It was just a book.
Yeah.
And you open the book and, oh, there's a story, and it's interesting. It has a lot of violence in it, a lot of killing. I mean, I remember that very well. City being turned to salt, all of the inhabitants being killed. That's.
Is everything tasting okay?
Oh yeah, I'm really getting this.
Good. Okay. Do you want more sour cream?
No, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I even like the other sauce.
The other gravy?
Yeah. So the point being, though, that I didn't feel guilt about having to believe or not believe. It was just a story. I mean, I was in a position to look for evidence. I wasn't.
So this is before first grade.
Mm-hmm. And I was looking forward positively to religious experience. One of my best memories of those years was my first best friend. After I started going to elementary school, Leonard was in a Catholic school. No, he was in a Catholic family going to my elementary school. And since my parents didn't take me to church, his family, Leonard, invited me to go to Catholic church with them. And my mom didn't mind it in the least. So I went to Catholic church. And I just, well, this is really neat. I finally getting to taste some of this Jesus stuff. Now, back in those days, this is like the 50s, late 50s, they said things in another language that I didn't understand. I understand it's changed since then. I now understand, but back then there was a lot of ceremony and not a proper sermon. So the memories that stick are, being able to taste wine in a cup, being told it was blood, and not believing that at all. You take things literally then. You're told the bread is the body. I get that.
So this was maybe grade school?
second grade maybe.
So still pretty young. I'm guessing there's more story after that?
Yeah, no admonishments though, no guilt, just an interesting experience, and you just move on, and since my life wasn't centered on those experiences, that friend eventually left because his family was reassigned by the Air Force to some other base. I'm left wondering, what else is there? I know there are believers, people who let religion guide their lives, but I'm not in that clique, that group. So, but I'm open and half hoping to encounter someone who will influence me. And I run into, over decades, well, significantly through my college years, several opportunities. I run into another friend who's a irreligious, a disbeliever, I think, and his cousin, who was really cute, her name is Darla, was born again. And I really liked Darla. And so I hope she influences me, but I'm sort of immune to that. I mean, it's just apparent I like Darla. So she's not much interest in me. Then I worked for a couple that run a drive-in dairy when I'm in college. And they want to influence me. They offer me the Book of Mormon to take home. And they seem to take me into their small family, to a limited sense. So I take it home, and it's curious reading. It's not very much like the King James Bible. And I'm not tempted to treat it as anything more than fiction at that point. And I'm skipping over, I guess, the most important part is wanting to believe, when I was a teenager, in the angst of being a teenager in like the high school years, this isn't working. This life doesn't make sense. I hate school. I hate, what's going on in the world. I don't have a guiding faith, and I want God to identify himself. And I explicitly ask. I ask for a miracle. And show yourself. And nothing happens. I'm still the same person, living outside of the Air Force Base near Sacramento. Not having a religious experience, just a mundane life. And I realized since I was oriented toward science, becoming aware of the alternative story that the Bible is really a fiction, which I treated as a story all along, you remember? And later I learned that it was cooked up by a cabal of people that we regard now as saints, who embellished the story of one of them who died early on. And I gave that a lot of credence. In other words, Christianity was cooked up 2 millennia ago in the same way that Scientology was cooked up by a science fiction writer. was a fabrication. For what purpose, I'm not sure of.
So it sounds like you were never really terribly involved with religion.
Right, but I wanted to believe. I gave religion its opportunity to be believable. But I had higher standards than I suppose other people did.
Do you recall why you wanted to believe?
I wanted there to be a deeper meaning than just my experience on Earth. I mean, I know I'm here, experiencing this moment, being in the now, and not trying to be worried about the future or disappointed in the past. But why am I going through this? For what purpose? I mean, I would have loved to have found out that there's a purpose to my life. Instead, I'm just an animal trying to survive, just like my cat or my dog, or any other creature, great and small. I think of that.
If you had the opportunity and the power to decide what your purpose is, what would you choose it to be?
That's the hardest question yet.
Thank you.
Well, I'd certainly like a mandate. I'd like to be put in a cocoon in a spacecraft and sent from Krypton to the solar system. Oh, that story already happened. And then realize that I could relieve suffering. But Superman already has that shtick, and I don't get that. I instead have a limited ability to intervene since I'm not any more or less capable than anyone else I run into.
Really?
I really am a peer.
You think everyone is equally qualified as you are?
I'm a peer. Yeah, you certainly are as qualified as I am. Everyone in Death Cafe has had unique experiences. To measure it with mine, I have very limited ability to influence or help other people. I mean, try as I might, and with some people I've really tried.
It's sad that you think that, because you influence me.
Yeah. Well,
You know, I'm curious as to how.
No, I think you might be mistaken. It might be delusion.
That's your low self-esteem talking.
Well, you've helped yourself maybe while I've been around.
You've influenced me positively. Can you even accept that?
Well, with a grain of salt. Food is too salty. Okay, I'll accept that at face value, and say my authentic reaction is more of the same, if that works for you. However, I can't.
But you don't believe you've affected me positively.
No, I accepted that at face value. I accepted your statement.
It's not about you accepting my statement.
Okay, well,
It's actually about your feelings. You don't feel that you've influenced me in a positive way. Wow, you don't.
well, I see my contribution as so little. Just minimizing it right now, as I tend to do. I simply offer friendship, support to the extent that
That's fucking important.
my resources are
That's
meager.
fucking important.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
It is. Do you have any idea what friendship means?
I think so. I've been disappointed by friends before.
And family, I'm sure, too. And neighbors and strangers.
I've been very disappointed by my friendships in the past. And
So you
tend
know
to-
what it means to, one, have a friend, and two, to be a friend. It doesn't seem like you understand what that means, and that's a little disturbing to me. How old are you? 65? And you don't know what it means to have or be a friend?
I try as I might, and I try too hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I find that friends who I thought were friends cast me aside.
Yeah. I've certainly encountered that myself.
And so I've learned not to put too much faith in friendship, just to be who I am and offer what I have.
Yeah, but that's,
To be prepared for disappointment.
for
but at the
me,
same
that's an
time,
odd
hope.
way of looking at it. And I wish I could remember exactly what you said, but I'm glad I have it on camera. However you said it, it just didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Now I wish I could remember, but again, we can look at this at a later date.
Maybe we should both look at that and fix the script up a little bit.
This being raw and natural is what I'm looking for. Because over the past several years, the neighbors and friends that I've had seem really shocked and amazed that I have really close friends. I don't know why that is. Why doesn't everybody have really close friends? And it looks like I'm lucky in that sense. I have friends that we can tell each other to fuck off when we're in a bad mood. We say, okay, I'll talk to you later, when you're not in a bad mood. And we get that with each other.
Well, I mean, I'm agreeing with you in the case of you and me, but I'm flashing to other friendships,
That's good.
even recent ones that I don't want to talk about, but we can. I've been gravely disappointed. Gravely disappointed. Even recently.
And that's what I found with the friends that tell me that I have a lot of friends. Because they haven't had a lot of friends, and certainly not a lot of good friends. And I'm not saying I need to write a book just to make a list of the names. The list is fairly short. And frankly, a lot more people's names belong on that list. I'm talking about friends I've known 2/3, 3/4 of my life. Now, the closest relation most people have to that is family. If family is not friends, family's definitely different.
Right. I've just to be completely honest, I've been disappointed, and I'm explicitly conscious of having disappointed others to the point of regretting.
So it's not just your disappointment, you're worried about the other person's disappointment.
No, I have let
You've let people down.
Yeah. Innocently in one case, without being aware how much they liked me. In another case, simply because they moved away north to Portland. I was in Sacramento for decades ago, and lost someone who I miss to this day. And that I've thought often that might have been the best relationship of my life, because I met my wife and thought that she was simply a friend, not a spousal type partner, and I just let her go.
Somehow you blame yourself for that.
Oh yeah, she wrote a letter and I didn't reply. I mean, it was she had a philosophy much like mine today, that you hope for the best, but you can't count on a friendship lasting, or a relationship, to be honest, a relationship lasting. And I've just fed into that because I thought my duty was to my wife-to-be, and then I had to cut someone off. And I just feel so bad about that to this day.
So you let your situation dictate your choice.
And I didn't even let her know. I just didn't reply to the letter.
But that was a choice.
Yeah.
And you let the situation dictate your choice.
Yeah.
Why don't you look at it as making a logical choice? Because you had a wife-to-be, and you had someone you didn't really know, but wanted to, that you could have written a letter to.
On the opposite, this woman was considerably older than me, had been through 3 marriages, and over the course of about 5 years had become best friends with me. Then that's when we decided to have a relationship. She was spurned by her third husband and called me and wanted something from me that I hadn't shared with her, that is affection, and which I was happy to give. It's easy for me to give, it's just hard for me to
Receive?
to take back, to withdraw. I couldn't, my morality at the time had me be faithful to my wife-to-be. And I ended up abandoning a friendship that had turned into a relationship. And I felt really crummy about that. When I went to Portland,
Okay, but what was the end result?
When I finally went up to Portland myself, completely unrelated to her having gone there 20 years earlier, I couldn't find her, tried to. So there's no result. Like I said, she was probably not 20 years older than me, but it didn't matter.
The result was that you stuck with your wife.
That's right, but I let down a friend. There's two things going on simultaneously.
I don't see that as illogical.
I do.
You do.
The person that I am, I introduce them to each other. I mean, I don't hide. I don't fib. I don't hide someone from someone else. I mean, if you're my friend, I'm not going to hide you from Robin. Robin from you. Or years later, after I told Jeannie that I felt really bad about dropping Diane.
I'm sorry, you felt what?
After I told my wife, years later, when I told her that I felt really terrible about having dropped Diane, she told me quite baldly that she wouldn't have minded. She wouldn't have minded the relationship. Diane was not someone she would have considered a threat to our relationship.
So what's the lesson to be learned?
One, I made yet another mistake. Life is a series of mistakes as well as successes.
That's pessimism. What positive things did you learn from that?
Well, I learned from that I would never mishandle a situation like that again.
So you think from that you learned to be perfect about it?
Of course, I'm not perfect. I would, if I found myself in a situation where I had two friends who I cared for deeply, I wouldn't chuck one over, decide, out of some misplaced sense of... It was misplaced because I found out years later that my wife didn't see her as a threat to our relationship.
Here's what I'm trying to take away from it, in that maybe if you were more communicative with both of these women, then you might have had a much better time.
That's right. If I'd been more communicative to my future wife, that's a takeaway I took from that.
You did learn something positive from it.
Yeah.
But it didn't come to your mind when I first asked you, what did you learn about it?
Okay.
You recognize that in yourself.
Agreed. Okay. Yeah, I'm not eating anymore because I'm full. This is a humongous breakfast. But I am taking it. So,
we got off on a
that's a
tangent.
personal story I don't get to tell very often. In fact, I haven't told that story in memory. Okay?
Well, now we have it on camera for the internet.
Well, you have to get my consent for that.
Do I have your consent for that?
Not yet.
Okay.
The tape isn't finished.
Did you want to add more to your history of religion?
Oh,
Because we got on friendship for a while.
yeah, so since I never was given guilt to be an unbeliever, I never took on guilt. So I discarded that. I developed really close friends with religious people, including a fundamentalist best friend in college who accepted me into his family, you know, holding out hope that I would be a believer, but seeing me as a good person and not someone that his religion required to be disconnected from. So that's why I choose to say I'm agnostic, because I have also other friends who are turned off by atheism, the concept. And so agnosticism is a safe harbor.
You've heard me tell everyone that I'm just apathetic.
Right. That's a good answer, too. Apathetic. That puts a little bit of humor in it, if you like. Appreciate that. Apathetic is a don't care, which is different than a don't know. So I do distinguish the two. I think professing not to know is not as judgmental as professing not to care.
Really? I
really suppose that you do care about the person who you're saying this to.
When someone asks me, do I believe in God or do I not believe in God? I said, that question is irrelevant to me. What I want to know is how you're going to treat me based off my answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Then that's about you. It's not about them.
Right.
So my point is, if you're agnostic, that's not in judgment. That's in just saying I don't know. But if you're not caring about the seriousness, the depth of their belief, that could be taken judgmentally. Yeah, I hear
their belief is not
I hear you're
important.
Christian, but that's not important to me. Well, it might be very important to them.
Well, if it's important to them, then it'll probably show up in their behavior, which is what I do care about.
Then that's about you.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's all about me.
So there could be, I suggest, an equal concern about you caring about them and their deluded belief in a higher power, higher being.
I wouldn't go so far as to say deluded, even though I would probably agree with that statement. Mm-hmm. That's not something I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because shit if I know.
As a Buddhist, delusion is a current word. We are all in delusion of some nature, and the delusion of religiosity is a significant delusion that has affected the world tremendously and harmed so many people, including the adherents to religiosity. So here I am talking like an atheist, but I'm still in the days agnostic. Some alien could come out of a crowd and say, we really did start this religious stuff for a reason, because we needed you guys to treat each other better. Now that's a valid statement.
And since we didn't know about germs and rotting food, we had to be told not to eat meat on Friday.
Okay.
Because the butcher cut it up on Monday.
Well, in the longer scheme of things, the aliens made big mistakes in their first attempts at religiosity.
Yeah, don't blame it on the aliens. Blame it on people. That's
the spaghetti monster. They finally planted a godlike figure, Jesus Christ, who moderated religion a great deal. And so if you read stories about the way Jesus lived among his clan and the almost commune nature of that, there's a lot to be admired. And though Christians don't follow Jesus and his lifestyle, that was an improvement. So Jesus is sort of a hero. The fictitious Jesus, the one of myth. However, it's a story.
So I take it you're still on the atheist/agnostic side of things.
Yeah.
And you've pretty much been there all the time?
And I look for inspiration to fiction, including the Second Testament, not the first, Second Testament, as stories. Not stories to believe in, but as inspiration stories. I also like The Wizard of Oz and the good messages it gives. Do I believe
and
it?
the morals of fables and Crying Wolf.
Yeah. Well, what's the next question?
I was going to say, are you satisfied with your religion question?
Oh, yeah.
What in your life makes you a hero? And then, if you add magical, mystical superpowers like a movie or a comic book, what would your superpower be? You don't have to answer them in that order. Anything in your life that would make you a hero. I remember talking to you the first night we met at the pizza place on game night. And you said that there wasn't anything special about you. And Rose and I disagreed when you said your father had passed away. It's like, well, it takes a lot of strength to get through that. I remember that when we first met. Do you remember that?
Well, I don't remember that specific occasion, but having your father pass away is a mundane experience. It's not a super...
To-go container for you?
I would love to take all of that,
Okay,
please.
I'll go grab a container.
The fact is, we become so insulated from death, the death experience, that we're trying to make that into a super experience. No, it's ordinary. It's what our animal nature requires. And being cut off from that experience is something that is in Death Cafe we're trying to remedy.
Or at least address.
Yeah. So using the word super in relation to my experience of death is shrug.
Just heroic. Heroic in your real life, super heroic in your imaginary life.
Yeah.
So,
if anything, I was coped better with it to the extent that my mother and sister were benefited. I managed to muddle through, took the lead in the family. I was an adult by then, and I didn't lose it. I kept it together, and my mom came to rely on me after my older brother died of suspicious suicide-like circumstances. So, being able to cope under pressure, is that super?
that's certainly heroic. Super heroic is like flying and shooting lasers out your ass.
Right. So that's super, yeah. Heroic, okay. So I'm a local hero. Oh, that's the name of the movie, Burt Lancaster. If you play it on your screen at home, I'll watch it with you.
Local hero?
Burt Lancaster. Will you remember?
I'll try.
Okay.
It's on camera now.
Okay, yeah. I've always wanted to watch it, by the way. It's been
Come
on
over.
my short list. It's been on my short list.
Then I'll watch it when you come over.
Okay. All right.
You're welcome to invite anyone else you want.
I have a secret superpower, and I have a more public superpower.
Okay.
The secret I won't mention.
Okay.
The public one is coping. I keep my composure through everything that's come to me.
That seems to be counter to what you've described about yourself.
I kept my composure through my father's death, my brother's death.
But you bottle it.
I bottle it and try to sell it. What do you mean?
You
I'd like to
bottle the anger and the stress and the anxiety, and it affects you at different times.
So I cry later, but at the time,
Maybe, but I think there are longer lasting effects. Like you having anxiety about whatever you took a pill for today.
yeah. Well, that certainly makes the pressure of having to decide, deliver all the materials, answers, how to do things. I mean, I don't have a lot of work experience to tell a handyman how to fix the drain, but here I am changing his tool of choice to my tool of choice, your Dremel tool, and he says, yeah, this did a better job. The point is, that's part of coping, and that's the power I claim, not a superpower. Coping is appreciated. Coping is important, and it's made a big difference in my life and the lives of family members and some friends.
Just gonna grab your fork so that I can get that off the plate for you.
Enough said about that. And
The comic book superhero thing?
it's not responsible carried easily. The cortisol goes up, and under
The stress.
The stress, yeah. And the chemical. Alcohol is an antidote, by the way.
So you're satisfied with the way you cope with stress?
Enough to claim it as a power.
Okay. That's a really good answer. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're in a movie or a comic book or a cartoon, what's your superpower? I used to also
secret fun.
I used to also ask about your superhero name, but that's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah. That's something I have to think
So
about.
your
Yeah.
superpower is the secret power.
Yeah. And it's diminished when it's revealed.
Kind of like Samson cutting his hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. That's all, folks. By the way, my secret super name is Ned. N-E-D. Got it?
Ned.
Ned.
I'll assume it's an acronym.
Put another E in the middle and you have probably some other relevant meaning.
You need Ned.
Well, I need more
You need more
help.
Ned.
Certainly need more help, more support,
And Ned is that help.
I guess. Maybe it'll loop back and give me the
Because
support I
Fence
need.
Walker is mine.
Yeah.
I'm now becoming Fence Walker.
Okay. I think you already are.
Yeah, so do I. Because whatever I was before was just too fucked up. And whatever parts of him wanted to die, they died.
Okay.
So the only thing that's left is the parts of me that want to continue on, take over the fucking world. Because it's fucked
See.
up.
Oh God, it is so fucked up.
It is really fucked up.
Done.
So you're
I wanna-
satisfied with your hero questions and answers?
Yeah. On the subject of the world being fucked up, can we start a colony? Or have we started a colony already?
Yeah. What rules would you like to establish in our fake utopia? Our pseudo-utopia, that's what I'm calling it.
Does it have to be different than the Sunday Assembly SAC fan group? They've got some principles that I could sign up for. But they leave out the religious people. I guess I don't want to lose them so readily.
So what would your rules be in your perfect little utopia? Or almost utopia, the fake utopia.
I guess taking chemical measures and behavioral measures to control the negative impulses of anger and hatred, to cultivate the opposite. To reject anger and hatred in a way that religiosity seems to embrace anger and hatred. It's difficult to describe how such a setup could be made with the cultivation of...
So along in terms of rules, you would, I don't know, make a rule that we all have to make healthy choices or something?
No.
I'm not sure what you're saying. As a rule.
Okay. Maybe it would be recognizing the appeal of being a Vulcan, Leonard Nimoy.
Without feelings.
Without
emotion.
Without negative emotion. So that was really the monster that the Vulcans were taming.
Well, but
you saw Spock, I think, express friendship.
Well, but he also rejected positive emotion. He didn't laugh. Well, he wasn't supposed to laugh, but he did probably.
Well, in later Star Trek
Yeah.
episodes, they worked on that suppression, if you remember.
But he suppresses both the positive and the negative, because it's all the same shit to him.
Yeah.
At least that's what I see. Having watched as much Star Trek as a human could possibly put up with.
And certainly more than me. Well, we're at the stage where we are being presented for the check. I don't want to record that, so may we bid adieu?
We adieu. That's like goodbye forever.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't know my French.
I bid you adieu. That is forever. I never want to see you again.
Well, you had a tone behind that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the word means that.
Yeah, the adieu is forever, I think.
Au revoir.
Yeah.
Au revoir to Mr.
Or
Tate.
bonjour, those things. My final question is, would you like to ask me any questions?
Oh, that's right. You do have that.
This is my favorite part, by the way, because now I get to interact even more. Assuming you have questions for me.
Kind of. I think in real time. And I don't want the question to be about me.
It can be about you, just whatever question you want to ask me. If you want to ask me something about you...
No, okay. Enough talk. Will you visit me in Portland?
Probably not.
With a plane ride?
I'm totally focused on getting myself to Denmark.
Oh, there's more international flights to Denmark from Portland than from Sacramento.
Well, the plan is to go to New York and then go to Copenhagen.
Okay, another question. Would you consider traveling to Denmark with me?
If you want to come with me, that'd be awesome.
I assume you don't have a travel buddy already. So.
I don't have anything set up. I'm taking some language classes, watching some TV and movies, and I'm just falling in love with the culture. The whole Hygge thing.
Yeah, Hygge. I'm going to remember H-U-G-G-A. I know you don't spell it.
E.
Okay, I'll change it to E. Okay. I'll think more on that. New Zealand hasn't dropped from my travel plans, but I have enough miles to go to either or both. And I probably have enough miles for 2 one-way tickets. But then you'd have to have all your affairs in order. That's impossible.
Mine will be one way. I plan on carrying this backpack and maybe a rucksack full of clothes.
Wow, that's impressive. If you lose your social support because you left the United States...
I have 6 months to decide whether I'm going to stay or come back home.
You wouldn't lose your support for 6 months?
I get 6 months of disability before they cut me off.
Oh.
And hunt me down, which is what she said. I went in and asked.
Oh, before they cut you off and then hunt you Yeah,
before they
because
cut you off and hunt you down?
Because you have to pay it back.
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, well, it'll be interesting to find out what the circumstances are for Danes to encounter, well, people not of substance in their borders.
Why are we not of substance?
Not of financial means. That's what I meant. I didn't mean anything.
That's a horrible way to judge a person.
Well, I have had for years recurring bad dreams about the wolf at the door, about losing resources, and not having substantial means of support. That's where the word substance comes from. Substantial means of support is a worry, personally.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, because I don't have a social safety net.
Me either. I've used it.
Well, I mean, you're on disability for life. You haven't used it. You get it. You have a.
I get $926 a month.
That's more than I get in Social Security.
Really?
Really. So it's the biggest difference between us is just in wealth. Because I'm not wealthy with gold bars. I just have a house and part of this house, and a car and a motorhome and 5 acres of land in the Sierra that I can move to if the world ended.
So you do want to spend more time with me as a friend.
I would even go to Denmark.
That's some amazing shit.
Would you like another beer?
Oh no, thanks. We're wrapping up. Do we get a check or do we?
I can grab it for you. Do we want desserts or coffee or anything?
Oh, I'm sure not.
No. Okay. I'll be right over.
I'll just give you my card now. No, she didn't hear that. Okay, yeah, Denmark. Let's talk about when. It's not going to happen unless you start talking about when.
I mean, I know you had offered your flight miles or something, and that just seemed like a lot to offer. If I were to buy plane tickets when I looked it up a week or two ago and left on my next birthday, it would cost approximately $500.
Oh.
$200 to New York and $300 to Copenhagen. I didn't think that was too expensive, but it might be because I was planning so far ahead. So I don't know.
I can run that if you'd like. I just want to make sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
just leave this part.
Yeah.
Wait, there's only 2 things on it and a beer, so we're right.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess you try to live in the moment, and then short term, like planning. Oh, I have a flight, and I have stuff, and I want to take some of my stuff. And so you're thinking in terms, perhaps, I'm putting words in your mouth, I admit. I'll need this many suitcases, so I'll need, to maybe limit what I want to bring. I definitely want to bring my camera, mundane things like that. But what about the rest of your stuff? What about...
It's going to my friends.
Okay. What about your...
When I thought about writing a will, I'm basically doing my will.
As if you're giving it away.
I'm going to give away all my shit.
Makes perfect sense.
I know one guy deserves my cards, one guy deserves my comics, another guy probably would like either the computer or the couch or both. I don't know if anyone would really want the big old beanbag bed I've got. Those metal shelves are nice. Whatever anybody wants of my shit, it's theirs. I'm going to have my backpack with the crucial shit and a thing of clothes. That's what I'm planning on. And before I go, I want to have a job waiting for me.
Oh. I figured you were going to be a tourist like me.
No, I'm planning on moving there.
Okay.
Assuming, shit doesn't hit the fan immediately after I get off the plane. You know, if I'm allergic to everything that is there, then I won't be able to stay.
Oh. Okay. I would have a backup plan of Scotland, but that's just me. 5, I guess.
I want to go there and be a stand-up comedian. I want to go and pester the colleges about their expanding, accelerating universe. I have engineering projects I'd like the colleges to work on.
Engineering projects. We'll talk about that in a minute. I want you to...
We'll do that off camera.
Okay. Goodbye, or au revoir, or
Adieu.
hasta la vista, camera. You'll,
Not adieu. So there's nothing else you want to ask me on camera?
nothing comes to mind. I'm busy with
Oh, all right.
calculator brain.
Well, thank you, John. I'm turning off now. Where's the button?